This Cognos list is based on this source data. And we can see that source data inside of this Excel file. And we will notice that some of the rows are grouped. For example, these two rows are grouped into one, and these two rows are also grouped into one. So if we go back here to Cognos, we will see that rows we have A and plus, or B and star, have number 2 beside them, because 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. But I want to turn off this automated grouping, and for that I will go here to Query, and I will turn off this property auto group and summarize. I will turn it off, then I will go back to my list, and now our list is the same as our source data. Now we can work. I will first go here to Toolbox, and I will create a new column by using query calculation. I will add new column here. I will name my new column as a sum, and I will create a formula total of, and I will place a column value inside of this parenthesis. So when I click on OK, I will get a new column, but this new column is the same as the old column. There is no difference, and the reason for that is because this formula in this cell can only see this row. So this circled one is actually total of this one. We cannot use all other values, but I want to change that. I want to allow formula inside of this first cell to see all of these rows. And how to do that? Well, I will change my formula. I will double click here on sum column, and I will say calculate total of value, but for each letter separately. So I will add here my column letter. I will click on OK, and now we have different numbers. In these first 5 cells, we have number 5, and that is the sum of these values here, because for these rows we have all the A's. For these rows below we have all the B's. We have 4 of them, so then we have number 4 here. And for C's we only have 2 rows, so we would get a number 2. We can also use some other column. For example, instead of letter, I can use column signed. And we click on OK, and we get the same result. For example, we have 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars. So our number beside rows with a star is 3. And what is special here is that we have these 2 cells that are blank. But still we would consider these 2 cells as just a separate different sign. So for them we would calculate their numbers, 1 plus 1, and we would get 2. Now what if we want to sum values from all of the rows? For example, we want to sum all of these values. In that case, I will again double click here. We will change our formula to calculate total of value for report, for whole report. We write it like this, and we can click on plus. And now, because we have 11 rows, we would have in each row number 11. It is also possible to combine columns. I will again double click on this column to change its formula. So instead of report, I would use both columns. So I will use column letter, and then I will type comma, and then I will use column sign. I will validate this, and I will click on OK. And this is expected result because we have 2 rows with A's and pluses. So we are looking for this combination where letter is A and sign is plus. And how many rows has such combination? Well, we have 2 rows, so the result is 2. And it's the same for B's. We have this row with B's and stars and this row with B's and stars. So for these 2 rows, result is 2. But all other combinations are unique. For example, we have only 1 row with C and sharp, or with C and plus, or with B and blank cell. So for all other rows, we would have ones. Let's now make this formula more complex by using some conditions. I will double click here, and I will add a condition that letter should be equal to A and that sign should be equal to plus. I will click on OK. Our column will change, and we will best explain this column if we create 2 auxiliary columns. So I will add a new column. I will call this column letter A, and its formula will be that letter should be equal to A. And then I will add another column with the name sign plus. Its formula will be similarly that sign is equal to plus. And now we can see that there is only one row with combination of true and blank cell. So that is why here we have 1. But we have, for example, 3 rows where we have combination false, false. Here, here, and here. And for those rows, we would get number 3. Now we can modify a little bit our formula. I will double click here. And instead of comma, I will use and. So I will click on OK. We get, again, different numbers. And again, I will create a new auxiliary column. In this column, name will be letter A sign plus. Its formula will be that letter is equal to A and sign is equal to plus. I will click on OK. And we can now see that for this blank cell, we have number 1 because that is the only row with that blank cell. We have 2 rows with true, so we have number 2. And we have 8 rows with false, so we have number 8. Let us now explain why are we doing all of this. What are we calculating? Well, first I will change again this formula, but this time I will make it simpler, so we will go back to that basic formula. I will click on OK, and then I will add another column, and I will call this column participation. And formula for this column will be value divided with sum. I will click on OK, and I will give a format to this column. So I will go here to data format, and I will change its format to %. And this is why we are using that for operator for calculations like this one. Let's say, for example, that this is one group, and this group has 5 subgroups, and we want to know what is participation of each of those subgroups in the whole group. Now we know that the value for the whole group is 5. We know that the value for this subgroup is 1. So what is participation of that subgroup in that group? Well, participation is 20% because we calculated 1 divided with 5. Let us now see what will happen if we calculate some totals here at the bottom of our list. I also want to get some subtotals, so I will select this first column. I will group it. I will change this property group spend to none so that we have a letter in each row. Also, this column will remain grouped. And then we can calculate summary for this, and this column. We will go to summarize button. We will click on default summary, and here we can see our subtotals and grand totals. Now subtotals are okay. This grand total here is also okay, but this value here is not intuitive, and consequently this value 5.5, which is calculated like 11 divided with 2 is equal to 5.5, is also not correct. And I want to change that, so I will select this cell here, and first I want to investigate how Cognos calculated this value too. And for that I will go to this property summary, and instead of aggregate I will choose, for example, total. And the result is 11, that is 5 plus 4 plus 2. We can also use count. It is 3. It seems that this formula can only see 3 values. It can see 5, 4, and 2. And similar to that, if we use average, we would get 11 divided with 3. So I will now go back to aggregate. And aggregate means that Cognos decided what calculation will be used inside of this cell. And I think that Cognos decided to use this calculation calculated. And calculated means that Cognos will use our formula. So inside of this column, if I double click here, we are using this formula, but this formula will return 3 results. And Cognos will then place all of those 3 results inside of this cell, but it cannot show us all of 3 values. Instead of that, it will only show us one of those values, and that would be the value 2. That is something that I supposed Cognos did, and we have to fix this at the end, and we can do that just by changing this calculation to total. In that case, here we would get the value 11, which I think is intuitive. And for this last value, I will unlock our list. I will select this value. I will click on delete on my keyboard, and instead of it, I will add query calculation. And here we can just type 1. That is the easy solution. If we click on OK, we would get 100%, and we already solved the problem. Or we can change this to be more understandable. So we can type, for example, total of a value divided with total of value for report. If we want, we can type all of this. We would again get 100%, and this is also a solution for this problem. Now we have more understandable explanation why here we get 100%. I will now log this list, and I want to change one more thing. I want to select these 3 columns. I don't need them, so I can just click on delete on my keyboard. If I do that, these columns will be removed from the list, but they will also be removed from the query. Sometimes we want them to stay in our query because maybe we will use them some other time, so I will click on undo. And instead of using delete button of my keyboard, I will click here to cut these columns. So I will cut them. They will be removed from the list, but they will stay in my query in this case. So here they are. And now our list is much better looking.